He lowered the window and cautiously stuck his hand outside. He wanted to assess how deep the mudslide had buried him, but as soon as he made an effort, a stream of mud poured through the window gap into the car interior. The man panicked and slammed the window shut. Before he could recover, the sunroof began to crack overhead. In a panic, he grabbed some duct tape to seal the broken glass, but the fragile tape was completely unable to withstand the weight of the earth. When he saw that he was being buried, he suddenly noticed a car anti-theft lock at his feet. He grabbed it, opened it, and wedged it into the hatch. Fortunately, this method worked. The hatch stopped breaking and at the same time stopped the earth from falling. Seeing that he was temporarily safe, the man dared to breathe a sigh of relief, completely relaxing. After all these efforts, the man felt very thirsty. He grabbed the mineral water that was nearby and drank it without thinking. Only when the bottle was almost empty did he realize that it was the last bottle in the car. But by then, it was too late to regret it. He could have finished it, drunk his fill. At that moment, he remembered that he still had his cell phone. He quickly dialed the emergency number, but there was no signal under the thick layer of dirt and sand. Helpless, he decided to start the car, hoping to get out of the mud. But soon, when the engine stalled, his naive idea was cut short. The man was furious. He began to beat the car like a madman, but this caused a secondary landslide. The car shook violently, his eyes widened in horror, and he did not dare to make a single move. Fortunately, everything soon calmed down, and the man's heart finally settled. He immediately began rummaging through the car's supplies, hoping to find tools to rescue himself. But after a long search, he found nothing useful. At that moment, he heard the sound of digging behind him. It was dirty water seeping through a crack in the roof hatch. The man immediately pressed his face against it, desperately sucking it into his mouth. But drinking like this was completely unsatisfactory, so he widened the crack with nail scissors, then pulled out a card, folded it into a funnel shape, and inserted it into an empty bottle. Finally, he wedged it into the car's lock, watching as the dirty water accumulated in the bottle. The man clapped his hands joyfully, admiring his ingenious invention. However, his joy was short-lived. Soon he felt the air becoming thin. In the confined space, oxygen was quickly running out. He would soon suffocate here. At that moment, his gaze fell on the folding chair in his hands. After a moment's thought, he came up with a plan. He removed the steel tube from the chair frame and inserted it into a small hole in the skylight. His intention was to pull the tube above ground. But as soon as it pierced the surface, dirty water gushed out of the pipe. The man jumped up and pulled out the steel pipe. He hastily plugged the hole with a newspaper. As he stood there, unsure of what to do, he noticed a bottle of mineral water nearby. An idea came to him. He grabbed it, unscrewed the cap, and made a small hole in the center. He found a piece of hemp rope, threaded it through the cap, and tied a tight knot. Finally, threading it through the cap, he sealed the pipe opening perfectly. Squeezing the steel pipe tightly, he carefully pushed it up, afraid of breaking the hatch. But even after he had completely driven in the first pipe, he did not reach the bottom. With no other choice, he glued a second pipe to the end and pushed it up again. Then a third followed. But due to the severe oxygen depletion in the car, breathing became a painful struggle. His strength was almost gone, so he took a jack out of the trunk and placed it under the steel pipe. With this handy tool, progress accelerated significantly. Unexpectedly, the jack reached its limit before the pipe broke through the ground. However, it remained his only means of survival. Not wanting to give up, he threw a blanket over his shoulders and braced one end of the pipe against his shoulder. He growled, gathering all his strength to push the pipe upward. Suddenly, he felt the resistance on his shoulder disappear. The man slowly bent over, gasping for breath. He couldn't believe he had actually succeeded. Time was precious. He quickly found the wire, inserted it into the steel pipe, and unscrewed the cap at the top. Then, unable to contain his impatience, he pressed his face against the pipe, his heart filled with anticipation. When he looked up,